Ever feel like you're just swimming in information, but still waiting for that real aha moment?
Yeah, like you want a shortcut to really get what drives success.
Exactly. And that's why we're here today. We're going to dive deep into Dean Graziosi's Millionaire Success Habits.
hmm A book lots of you mentioned being curious about.
And, for good reason.
Definitely. And it's pitched as more than just like money advice, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be this whole approach. Wealth, prosperity, but also, life stuff. For entrepreneurs, employees, anyone really.
The core idea is these habits and principles give you an edge, not just financially, but like fulfillment too. Family, friends, the whole picture.
And you can tell he's learned from some heavy hitters. The dedication mentions Tony Robbins, Joe Polish, Dan Sullivan.
Yeah, giants in that space. Their influence definitely suggests we're in for some powerful stuff.
Plus, he gives a nod to all those authors and speakers who shared wisdom, which, resonates if you're into learning.
Absolutely. So our goal today is to pull out those key actionable habits, the ones that can give you those aha moments you mentioned.
Without the overwhelm, hopefully. Real clarity, practical takeaways.
Exactly. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The book kicks off with a really interesting idea that real change isn't about cramming more into your day. It's about swapping out the old routines.
The unproductive ones, yeah. Replacing them with actual success habits.
Right. Identifying those patterns holding you back and consciously switching them.
And he puts this in a bigger context, which I found fascinating. He talks about that trend since, 1973.
Oh, yeah, where productivity went way up.
But wages didn't really keep pace for a lot of people.
Which explains why so many folks feel like they're running faster but staying in the same place, financially speaking.
Exactly. And he makes that point, if you feel like that, busier but not really getting ahead, it's not, your fault necessarily.
And that's where these targeted habits come in. Habits designed to actually multiply your income and success, move you past just being busy.
Which kind of naturally leads into tackling that big limiting belief about money itself.
Right. The idea that money is somehow bad or evil.
Yeah. He pushes back hard on that, argues that, ethically earned wealth, it can have a huge positive impact.
Totally. Like simple joys, paying off debt, vacations, giving back.
And he points out the flip side, too, the serious stress that not having enough money causes. Relationship problems, anxiety.
Yeah, it really reframes wealth as a potential tool for good, for you and, the world.
And building on that positive frame, he really hammers home the importance of focusing on what you do want.
Not just what you want to avoid.
Exactly. He tells that story about the whitewater rafting guide.
Oh, with the church group. Yeah, I remember that.
The guide only ever pointed towards where they wanted to go, never at the rocks or the logs.
Such a great visual. Because if you're always looking at the dangers,
that's where all your energy goes, right? But if you have that clear vision, that goal.
It acts like a filter. So you can say no to things that don't fit.
Precisely. Commitments, distractions, even just scrolling online, if it aligns or not. And that, he says, cuts down the overwhelm.
Makes sense. So having that vision is crucial.
But to make it stick, to make it really compelling, you need to know your why.
Your deep down reason.
Yeah, the fundamental motivation. Not just surface stuff. That's what turns an idea into reality.
Okay, so this is where that 7 levels deep exercise comes in, developed with Joe Stump.
That's the one. Sounds intense, maybe, but the process is simple.
You just keep asking why 7 times.
Basically, yeah. You start with your goal, ask why you want it, then you take that answer, ask why that's important, and so on 7 times.
Peeling back the layers.
Exactly. It forces you past the logical reasons down to the emotional core. That's what fuels the action.
He shared his own experience with it, right? About wanting to help his students.
Yeah. But digging down, level by level, he got to this fundamental need for control.
Stemming from his childhood. All the moving around.
Right. Lack of autonomy. He said it was this huge aha moment. Real emotional clarity.
Wow. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What's really driving your own goals.
Totally. And once you get that clarity on your why, you start noticing the resistance too.
The inner villain, that voice of doubt.
Exactly, that self-sabotage thing. He frames it as like your brain trying to protect you based on old stuff.
Recognizing where it comes from helps you kind of detach from it.
Yeah, build a more rational story. But this villain, it gets fed, right?
From the outside. The news.
Bingo. He actually suggests a 30-day news diet. Completely disconnect.
30 days. Wow. What's the thinking there?
That the constant negativity just fuels fear and anxiety. Makes you focus on problems, not solutions.
So use that time for something else.
Yeah, personal growth, time with loved ones, actually working on your goals, things that build you up, that build confidence.
Okay, interesting. And another way this villain gets fed is when we obsess over our weaknesses.
Right. We're always told to fix our flaws, but he challenges that. Says it can just drain your confidence.
And distract you from your actual strength.
He uses that analogy. ADD being like a Ferrari engine.
With bicycle brakes.
Yeah. And he mentions Dr. Ned Hallowell's work, focusing on identifying and nurturing the strengths in people with ADD.
And when you succeed where you're naturally good.
That confidence boost ripples out. It affects everything else.
Like his story about being told his writing wasn't great.
Yeah, but he knew his message was powerful. So he focused on that, found an editor, played to his strengths.
It's a good reminder. Focus on what you do well.
And this ties into being careful about whose advice you take.
Oh, the bad advice danger. Developing a filter.
Exactly. Be wary of advice from people who haven't actually succeeded where you want to succeed.
Like his funny example, don't ask for marriage advice from someone who's been divorced multiple times.
Seems obvious, but we forget, right? It's a crucial filter.
And he also questions that sort of standard path. Good grades, college, job, 401k.
Yeah. Not saying it's bad, but urging you to figure out what truly makes you happy.
And have the courage to follow that, not just the crowd.
Which is all about shifting how you see yourself.
Yeah.
Building real confidence.
He even talks about how, like, your appearance can affect your inner state.
Yeah, how the villain can sometimes show up on the outside, so putting effort into presenting yourself well.
Can actually empower the inner hero.
Right. And then there's the power of words, the language we use.
How negative, emotional words can strengthen the villain.
Exactly. He references that Tony Robbins exercise.
Yeah.
Showing how we assign meaning, like using different words for bum.
So the idea is to notice your own trigger words.
And consciously swap them for more positive, empowering ones.
Makes sense. And external stuff, too, like your inner circle, the people you hang out with.
Huge impact. He talks about energy givers versus battery drainers.
And actively seeking out positive, successful people through books, podcasts, meetups.
Mentorship coaching, yeah. Surround yourself with the energy you want.
What about when the negative people are, like, really close? Family or friends?
That's tough, definitely. His advice is basically to focus on your own light, be positive yourself, hope it inspires them.
Okay. And then there are the stories we tell ourselves.
Oh yeah, the narratives. They become our reality, he says, can really lock in limiting beliefs.
Like that fictional story he tells, the older woman feeling worthless.
Shows how those stories become self-fulfilling.
So first step is just noticing them, writing them down.
Yeah, identify your go-to limiting stories, the negative scripts you run.
Bring them out into the open so you can challenge them.
Exactly. Like he did with his own belief about not being smart enough for college because of special ed.
Right. He looked for evidence against it, found all these successful people without degrees. Gates, Branson.
And that helped him dismantle his own limiting story. So you find proof that contradicts your negative belief.
And he has that powerful reframe, too. What if life happens for us, not to us?
Yeah, looking for the lesson or the positive angle, even in bad experiences.
He uses that analogy of the burning house to him. All your memories inside.
You have to consciously choose which stories, which memories you carry forward.
And then create and anchor new, empowering stories.
Repeat them. Share them with supportive people. Get an accountability partner or a mentor. Reinforce the positive narrative.
Okay, so we've dealt with the villain. Now it's time for the inner hero.
Yes, your full potential, your best self, the one who needs to be in charge.
But the villain tries to keep control, right, by reminding you of the old bad stories.
Exactly. But the hero is characterized by confidence, optimism, being solution-focused.
The opposite of the villain's fear and doubt.
Right. He tells that story about Carol, who overcame beliefs about poverty through reading and mindset shifts. Shows change is possible.
And that incredibly powerful story about JJ's son, Grant, facing something awful.
But focusing on the best outcome, letting the hero control the response. It's about conscious choice.
So how do we actually unleash this hero? He has the 5 C's.
Yeah, it's a framework. Courage first, stepping out of the comfort zone.
Then clarity, knowing your vision. Capability, focusing on your strengths.
Confidence, which builds from courage and small wins. And celebration, acknowledging your successes.
And he points out that courage often comes before confidence, right?
Yeah, the bungee jumping analogy. You need courage to jump first. Confidence comes after.
And remembering your 7 levels deep why can give you that courage.
Definitely. And another tool he suggests is the "what's cool about me" exercise.
To shift focus from failures to wins.
Exactly. Deliberately list your accomplishments, your positive traits. He shares his own list bestseller, despite challenges, operating machinery.
Makes you realize you probably have a longer list than you think.
It can feel a bit weird at first, maybe, but actually writing it down is powerful. Directly counters the inner villain.
And building on that, creating a heroic persona.
Yeah, visualizing your best self. Vibrant, successful, in control. Give it a name.
And then consciously choose to feed that version of yourself. Feed the good wolf.
And to anchor that hero, he suggests creating a personal power phrase.
Like a mantra, something short and impactful.
Exactly. To repeat when the villain pipes up. His is, "Nothing can stop me. I've been through way worse."
So you create your own phrase, something that really resonates.
Yeah, that feels empowering to you. Say it with conviction. Feel the shift.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, he talks about the power of focusing on just one main goal.
Right, to really accelerate progress towards wealth or abundance instead of scattering your energy.
Makes sense in our busy lives. And with big goals comes fear, usually.
Always.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that fear around next levels,
Yeah.
new job, new business, relationship changes.
But says breakthroughs happen when you push through that discomfort.
And he offers a tool for that fear, the DOS conversation.
Dangers, opportunities, strengths. DOS.
Right. You basically make a list. Analyze your goal. What are the potential dangers? What are the opportunities? What are your strengths?
And the idea is that opportunities and strengths usually outweigh the dangers.
Often, yeah. It gives you a more balanced perspective, helps you see you have resources to handle the risks.
That seems really practical. And then there's the unique ability concept.
Yeah, your financial sweet spot,
Where
you create the most value.
And where you should focus your time. Like his example of ROI on time, maybe pay someone to mow the lawn.
So you can focus on your high-value work.
Exactly. He suggests that UA circle exercise.
Categorizing tasks by ability level and, like, your desired hourly rate for them.
Yeah, and then systematically trying to eliminate or delegate the lower value stuff, freeing you up for your unique ability tasks.
Okay, so that's internal focus. But success also involves other people, right? Attraction and persuasion.
Absolutely crucial. He calls it the money compounder.
Being able to attract opportunities, attract people.
And then persuade them and yourself to take action. It's fundamental to getting things done and building wealth.
And a key insight here is that people act when they feel understood.
Not just when they understand you. That's huge.
So it emphasizes listening really deeply. Yeah. Uncovering their pain points, fears, goals, limiting beliefs. He contrasts the pushy salesman
Who just pitches immediately.
versus the one who asks questions first, understands the needs. Much more effective.
And he has that tactic, the unfair deal closer.
Just asking, what would have to happen for this to be a hell yes for you?
Simple question, but it gets to the heart of it, reveals what they truly want or need.
Exactly. Helps overcome those final obstacles. Useful in business, even personal stuff, like an argument or helping a kid decide.
He also really stresses transparency and authenticity.
Yeah, builds trust, stronger relationships long term. He mentions that mentor advising him about honesty early on.
And it's not just understanding, you have to act on it.
Right, to turn the talk into reality. Actually help people get what they want or need. Build that connection through action.
Storytelling comes up again here too, doesn't it?
For attraction and persuasion. Crafting stories that subtly show your work ethic, your smarts, whatever's relevant.
Like that made-up story about the half werewolf.
Yeah, illustrates how a story can deliver a message like being happy despite challenges in an engaging way.
He also warns against selling past the sale.
Oh yeah. Keep talking after they've agreed. You might make them doubt it.
Happens all the time. Strategic silence is powerful sometimes.
Definitely. And underpinning all of this attraction and persuasion is passion.
Genuine belief in what you're offering.
Totally. It's incredibly persuasive.
Yeah.
And that passion comes from knowing your where, your why, your goals, all the stuff we talked about earlier.
Okay, so you get the yes, but that's not the end, is it?
Not at all. The next critical habit is managing feelings after the yes. Purchase, partnership, marriage, whatever it is.
This is key for long-term growth and loyalty.
For sure. He gives examples of how things can change post-yes.
Yeah.
The partner who seems different, the business deal that sours.
That initial agreement isn't the finish line.
Right. His story about donating to Virgin United really hit this home for me.
Good intentions gave money, but then...
Lack of follow-up, no real connection. felt disconnected, stopped engaging eventually. The after-sale relationship mattered.
And his personal story with his daughter, Brianna, the crayons.
Yeah, powerful stuff. He thought he was being fair, but he missed validating her feelings.
The lesson being, even if you think you're right, you have to acknowledge their feelings, their perspective.
Absolutely critical.
Mm-hmm.
And businesses can easily lose sight of this as they grow, right? Focus on process over person.
So how do you stay connected? How do you camp out in their minds, as he puts it?
Surveys, asking directly, ethical bribes, watching social media, checking analytics, lots of ways. The key is listening, not assuming.
And then there's reciprocity after the yes.
Unexpected rewards for good stuff, instead of just focusing on disappointments.
Acknowledge the positives in spouses, kids, employees, clients.
Exactly, like that simple handwritten thank you note to tenants. Small thing, big impact.
It boils down to being in the relationship business, not just transactions.
The contrast between the transactional diner and the one where the owner connects personally. Loyalty follows the relationship.
Like Larry King interviewing Joel Osteen, the power of recommendation within that relationship.
It all comes back to truly knowing what they're thinking and feeling. That's the foundation.
Okay, so relationships are key. Now, shifting focus again. Happiness. He flips the script on that too, doesn't he?
He really does. Argues that happiness leads to success, not the other way around.
Challenges that idea that wealth or fame automatically equals happiness.
And he questions that whole when, then I'll be happy track.
When I get the job, when I start the business.
Right. You just keep delaying happiness, like that couple who got their California dream.
Watched the sunsets, but then got restless again.
Exactly. The goalpost keeps moving.
So his answer is living in the present.
That's the foundation. Inner gratitude, happiness now. He mentions Eckhart Tolle.
And stopping the overthinking, the analysis paralysis.
Yeah, that's a specific happiness habit.
Yeah.
And focusing on a positive outcome. Energy follows focus, right? Choose the positive.
Letting go of rigid expectations, embracing the moment.
And reframing failure. Seeing it as essential for success. Quoting Churchill, fail often, learn fast.
Practicing gratitude consistently for big and small things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And not settling for good enough that diminishes joy.
Spoiling yourself wisely, things that truly matter evoke good feelings. Investing in yourself, continuous learning.
Exercise for well-being, and trying to understand others' intentions instead of assuming the worst.
Like his story about misjudging his daughter's friend's dad. Saves emotional energy.
And finally, enthusiasm. That positive attitude attracts opportunities, like his collision shop experience leading to real estate.
Wow, okay, so mindset, happiness, vital. But then you have to do something, right? Take action.
Absolutely. That's where the gap often is. Wanting change versus actually starting. Our subconscious likes safety, familiarity.
Even if familiar isn't great.
Right. So he talks about first steps, the power of small, consistent actions.
Visualize the future successful you.
And then write down specific actions for the next 90 days to move towards it. Make it concrete.
And alongside action, you need grit.
Stick-to-itiveness, persistence, pushing through obstacles, ignoring critics.
Even when people don't believe in you, like his daughter learning to pitch softball.
Yeah, dedication, practice, overcoming bad advice even, trusting your instincts. Great example of grit.
So adopting these habits isn't passive. It takes action and grit.
Definitely. He quotes Tony Robbins, "We overestimate short-term change, underestimate long-term potential. Start now. Shifts happen over time."
So he wraps up with the Better Life Challenge.
Yeah, basically saying, here's the roadmap, now you got to drive. It takes application, takes grit.
Acknowledges the listener for sticking through the deep dive.
And encourages turning that wheel of life just an inch every day. Small, consistent progress.
Emphasizing that these strategies worked for others, and now they're available for you to use on your journey.
Towards abundance, prosperity, happiness, all of it.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive into millionaire success habits, the big takeaways seem to be intentional habits are foundational.
Absolutely. Knowing your why, overcoming limiting beliefs, waking up that inner hero.
Focusing on that one goal, mastering attraction and persuasion, nurturing relationships after the yes.
Prioritizing happiness as a driver, taking consistent action, and definitely cultivating grit. It's a whole system.
And we put this together because you, our listener, told us you value getting knowledge quickly, but also thoroughly. You want those aha moments.
Hopefully we delivered some of those today.
So here's something to think about as we finish. Which one of these success habits really jumped out at you right now?
Yeah, which one resonates most? And maybe more importantly, what's one small thing, one tiny action you could take today to start putting it into practice?
We really encourage you to keep exploring these ideas. Think about how you can apply them to your own life.
For that lasting positive change and growth, it's all there for the taking.